Hello and welcome back to a brand new video. I'm Tony King. I'm a photographer, and this is part of a series where I go back through months in the year and review 5 to 7 images. Today we're reviewing 7 images from February 2025. And if you don't know anything about my channel, you should subscribe. But I post photo albums a lot outside of just the regular videos I post where I'm talking about photography. And in the photo albums, they are photo montages from photo walks that I go on. I posted 16 of those kinds of videos in the month of February, which is a really solid haul. My aim is to do at least 4, so times 4, that is 4 a week basically. Some of the times it was one photo walk split into a couple different iterations so that they're more digestible, but for the most part, I went out a lot more. This was probably the second most prolific month I had this year, from my memory anyway. Let's go ahead and kick it off with this image of my cat Bootsy. She's sleeping. I took this on, I think it was my Olympus with a TT Artisan 50mm lens. And, you could say it's just, it's a house picture of your cat in your, office, whatever, just sleeping. But I actually really like how the light is hitting her face, and it accentuates the different colors that you can see on her face. Pose of her sleeping like with her arms like this is just adorable. But really also there's like a leading line of focus that goes kind of across her body and like just near her nose where her whiskers start. And I think that is what I was going for. Really nice moment and kind of artistic line of focus to draw our eyes to her face, to her sleepingness, let's say, to the fact that she's sleeping. For me, it's a good memory. I don't think just because it's a photo you take of your cat at home and you're not a pet photographer that it should be discounted. This is the first image that I wanted to share. It's one that I really like, and quite fond of my cat. Next up, another shot that I took on my TT Artisan 50mm lens. I really loved the shapes in this image and how I got the water. I've said it before, I don't love water when there's all the little ripples and a bunch of lines sticking out at you. It's kind of hard to tell what the subject is. So here the water is mostly smooth, especially around our subject, which is these 2 geese, mainly the one on the right. That's the sharpest part of the image, which is what I was going for. And I think the bottom side is kind of like on an elevated hill, dirt, and then a tree stump, which is what you see on the left. Nice, super nice swirly bokeh, shooting wide open f/0.95. The water's almost overexposed, but not quite. You can still tell that it's blue, which is what I love. Even though honestly, the water there is usually not super blue. It's only when the light is hitting that way. Other times it's just brown and ugly. It turned out blue this time. The shape I was able to get, which is what I was really trying for, was this kind of swirl that kind of draws our eye to the center, but then the leading lines of the geese kind of going away outside of frame kind of draws us away. So there's a lot of direction in the image, which is what I was going for. I tried for this shot 20 times, and this is the one that turned out. This is one of the only images where I'm fine with the mess of little sticks coming out of the shallow part of the water there, because they are adding to that shape, because they are out of focus how they are, and because of how the bokeh is kind of swirling a bit for me there. So it's not a detriment to the image, it's kind of adding to the shape and context of the story I'm trying to tell. Next up is a kind of urban grunge kind of real world shot that I got of this bridge. It's kind of like an access way bridge. The interstate is to the right of this image, and I'm on a little walkway. Pretty wet, stormy day. I was trying to take pictures at different places and it was raining, but you know what? I still went out, which is good. Even though my camera's not the best in the rain, I was just it's not gonna rain the whole time. Let me go out and get something and not let that stop me. So I'm very glad I did. I was using kind of the railing at the bottom of the image, of the railing of the pathway that I was walking, and I really like the color that comes off of it, which is kind of this light brown wood color. Using that bridge, adding some depth in the z-axis, and all the trees creating this kind of mess kind of makes it feel a little dystopian. Got these ropes going down off the bridge, what is that for? And the railing of the bridge itself kind of feels dramatic almost, in a way, like a barrier for war or something. So it just kind of has this dystopian feel, which is kind of neat if you ask me. I like that sort of vibe, not for the real world, but for images, I guess. Yeah, I thought it was a cool bridge. I like the green values on the metal support that's under there. I don't know, but it's kind of a dreary day, so the little bit of the color that comes out at the bottom and on the bridge is really nice for me. The direction and the general feel. I really like this image. Next up is an image off I think it might be the Chattahoochee River or some other river nearby. I really like the direction in this image as well, but the composition that I was able to get with this branch that had this like little yellow element to it stuck out so nicely from the blue water behind it that's running water. And you can see how it's running in the background. Even though it's all out of focus, there's action, there's movement, but I'm focusing on this branch coming out, and it's like that's what you would hold on to if you're like rushing down the stream. I guess I'm like giving you something to hold on to, which is kind of the aim with the movement and with the stillness of that. And I really like the color values. I like the kind of line coming into the image and down into kind of the mess of that background. It gives me a feeling. Hopefully it gives other people a feeling as well. And the color values are very nice. Next up is a little bit further up the river, and this image kind of, I don't know, for whatever reason, it reminds me of Blade Runner 2049, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Kind of gives me a feeling from that last like seawall fight with all the water. You know, there's a lot of rocks on this river, so that's kind of what's creating this weird shape where like it almost looks like the water is running in two different directions, which I find so fascinating for this image. I love the color quality. It's kind of blue, but then also a little bit green at the top, and you can see kind of this rock at the front that's creating this large edge. It's very like geographical. It almost feels like the edge of a continent or something, and the rest of the world is kind of running along on its own path in a way. Just the line that kind of cuts across the image to like a dark blue, kind of lighter green area with kind of the white foamy part being this big barrier. Very fascinating to me. I thought this day I caught a lot of shots of moving, running water pretty well. So I was very satisfied with that. You can see some other ones that I really liked on my Instagram at Tony King Pics. But I think there's a lot of just interesting, like that's kind of fascinating the longer you look at it, to me anyway. Let me know what you think in the comments. Very satisfied with this one. This month, I think, is also when I started making these types of YouTube videos, and one of the first ones I did was talking about making self-portraits, and this is the first one I actually took out of a short series. This is a self-portrait, and I used my dining table to kind of catch the light from the blinds behind me and kind of create this effect that you see at the bottom of the image. Just so helps out that, you know, my blinds are a little bit broken, so there's kind of a brighter spot of it in the middle, and I framed myself there, caught myself in good focus, which was just trial and error. It's not autofocus at all because I only have manual focus lens for that camera, which I was using, a GH5. And I think the blinds look very nice. It's not like, it doesn't feel necessarily like I'm at home, but I can be at home. I am at home, but it doesn't need to be that way. And lastly is a portrait of my wife. In the context of this, I had just gotten hired to shoot behind the scenes for a short film. They wanted a lot of like black and white dramatic images. So this was part of me practicing for that. She's obviously a beautiful model and I think she's giving me a great performance there. And I was able to use natural light because I didn't know what kind of lighting there was going to be on the short film. And it ended up being pretty much all natural light anyway. So good thing I practiced with that. Caught the light real nicely. I don't mind that, you know, her glasses are kind of cutting across her eye. There's still like a little eye light going there just kind of naturally. And, you know, the shadow cutting across her chin is a nice frame, and her bangs at the top kind of really frames her face nicely. Her eye is in perfect focus and the rest is pretty sharp, but you're drawn to that eye and there's emotion there. And I just think it's a beautiful portrait thanks to my wife. She's awesome. And those are the images from February that I decided to share today in this month of review. I thought it was a pretty strong month overall, very prolific. I'm very happy that I bounced back. If you saw my January month of review, you'll know I barely went out that month and I was not super happy with what I was able to get. So this was a big bounce back for me to really just practice my craft and do well. Like this is literally a practice shot here. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, subscribe to my channel for more monthly reviews, but mainly more photography, just gear reviews, thoughts on photography, ideas, and my own work. Let me know which images you liked in the comments, and I'll see you next time. I've been Tony King.